Okay, good afternoon and happy Easter, happy Passover. Thank you all for joining us on this Monday after Easter Sunday. This is Audrey Russo, and we are here today for as business as usual. This is our daily Zoom update. I'm the president and CEO of the Pittsburgh Technology Council, and I also have with me co-host from Tech 5 Radio, but also Vice President of Visibility, Jonathan Kirsting, on our team. He's with us. So first, I want to give a shout out before I introduce our guests. I want to give a shout out to Huntington Bank, who's been working feverishly to support the small businesses across our region. They have been a sponsor of the series right from the get-go. And if you don't know them, they are the largest SBA lender. And given everything going on with the CARES Act, they have been many people's right hand. So I really thank them. And then speaking of the SBA really quickly, the Tech Council actually launched a virtual help desk and last week, and we had one every day. Today we have one as well. You should have received an email from Brian Kennedy that goes from 2 to 3 o'clock, and they are led by Pittsburgh area professionals. Today we have a team from Ernst & Young, and they're going to be talking about some of the tax benefits for companies with less than 500 employees. So stay tuned, and they will be around this afternoon at 2 o'clock. So also I want to thank the team at AT&T. They have been our partner for public policy for a long time, and more importantly, they support the broader community. So this week, and actually last week, AT&T committed $5.5 million to provide much needed support in the form of nourishing meals for first responders, medical personnel, and others in need impacted by COVID-19. Portions of that donation will go to support Feeding America, which supports the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank and Westmoreland County Food Bank. So just a little bit about the tech for the call today. Most of you've noticed we've muted your microphones. We've done that on purpose. We want to make sure that we won't hear any of the sound in the background that most of us have from working remotely. And we also want the call to be interactive. So there is a chat box at the bottom of your desktop screens. If you have a question, both Jonathan and I will monitor that and try as best as we can to answer those questions by our guests. Remember, this is archived and recorded, so we have each one of our business as usual actually out on Pittsburgh Tech website. So lastly, very important, this section is not for advertising your product, so please, this is interactive and we're really trying to address the issue at hand. And today we are thrilled to have Lisa Scales, who is here from running the Pittsburgh Food Bank. She's the president and CEO, and she's pretty awesome. I just want to, before we set it up and jump right into Lisa, I want everyone to realize that Lisa has been with the food bank for 25 years. And her background and expertise in things related to disaster and food needs is long and plenty. And she actually has a law degree from Boston University, but I think what makes it so interesting is the last 8 years in her leadership, she's been able to leverage her professional experience to bring us to where we are today. So I'm going to pass the baton. Lisa, thank you for being here, and appreciate you having a conversation with us.
Well, thanks so much, Audrey. I really appreciate it.
Well, so let's talk about this a second. So last week, by way of an aerial view of the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank's operations, people across the nation got a brief glimpse of the magnitude of food insecurity in America. Can you talk about how large of an issue this is here in Western Pennsylvania?
Yeah, sure, Audrey, happy to do that. So here in Southwestern Pennsylvania, we've seen a dramatic increase in need in just the past 3 weeks. We have seen over just this past week, 3,000 views on our pantry locator on our website. And typically we would see a couple dozen people would type in their zip code to find a pantry near them. But just in the past week, it was 3,000 people. What we did early on in this crisis as it spread to Southwestern Pennsylvania is we knew we would start to get a lot of phone calls from people. So we designated 3 full-time staff members to serve as concierge to answer those calls. We set up a dedicated phone line. And to date, we're still getting about 100 calls a day from people in desperate need of food. And then also to show what that increase is like, is we would typically get 10 people who would come to our front door here in Duquesne for emergency food. Well, since this crisis started, again, we get over 100 people here every day asking for emergency food. And as many of you have seen, and you saw the dramatic footage of the long line of cars, we started 3 weeks ago to host these large no-touch drive-up distributions. And we're now serving close to 1,500 cars at those distributions. So the need is greater than I've ever seen in my history of food banking.
So a couple of things. First of all, you've been around for 9/11, you were around for Katrina, and right. I think, I don't know, 25 years ago, but there was a higher rate of unemployment in the Pittsburgh region back at that time. How would you compare this to those experiences?
Well, yes, and when I look at it, so Feeding America responds to natural disasters along with Salvation Army and Red Cross, and it's something that food bankers know well. And I was in New York City after 9/11 and Louisiana after Katrina, and this just exceeds that in so many ways. When you're responding to a natural disaster, you're coming in after the disaster has happened, and it's localized. Here, we're being deployed as the crisis is evolving and growing, and it's nationwide. So the amount of resources available to us are limited, whereas when you're responding to a natural disaster, there are a lot of resources flowing into the community. I would also say even more recently with the government shutdown last year, we stepped up. We had a number of pop-up pantries. We got emergency food boxes to the airport, to the federal prisons. Again, that was a much smaller scale than what we're experiencing right now. The magnitude is, you can't even compare it.
So, I mean, listen, in many ways, the community has really rallied around your organization. And can you talk about how important that is, and actually add some concrete things that we can do to help you achieve this, monumental objective that you're trying to conquer?
Yeah, I want to start off by saying that lending a hand and helping a neighbor in need is what Pittsburgh does best. And boy, has the community come out to support us and other nonprofits during and the healthcare providers during this time of unprecedented need. I can't say enough about how people have come forward, offered to hold fundraisers, offered food, offered their expertise. People want to volunteer. It's just been tremendous. And one that really, really gets to me, speaks to me, and I'm speechless now even thinking about it, is a nurse at the UPMC Mercy ER, who, when she saw the footage a week ago Monday, talked to her colleagues in the emergency room about doing a fundraiser for us. They've been so blessed to have many people drop off food for them. And when she saw the need in the community, she decided to take action and hold a fundraiser for us. And I was just humbled by that and inspired by her action. So that's just one of many ways that the community has stepped up. There are opportunities. If you want to volunteer, please contact the United Way of Southwestern Pennsylvania. Also on our website, there's an opportunity to sign up as a volunteer. I will tell you, however, because there's so many people who want to volunteer and not as many opportunities, we may not get to you. We may not respond to your offer to help. We had to make the hard decision a couple weeks ago to discontinue having outside volunteers in our facility. We didn't want to risk the health of our staff and the volunteers. We would typically have 300 different people in our building every week. And so we are now working with the National Guard and our own staff to pack the emergency food boxes. Of course, the financial donations are tremendously helpful. And you can go to our website, foodbank.org to make a financial donation. I can tell you that in the months of March and April last year, we purchased almost $600,000 worth of food, but this year it's $1.7 million worth of food we've purchased just in these 2 months.
So you're saying that really the biggest need is financial. And
It
that
is.
anything that we can do, anything that we can do across the tech community to help that is what matters.
Yes, I mean, really, we would encourage you to make financial contributions if you're able to. We know so many people, people who are working, they have spouses who are out of work. So we know so many people are struggling. I do have, and forgive me because I am not a technology person, but our director of IT and portfolio management, David Carrico, does have a specific request to the tech community, which I will read to you. So here it goes. If there are any CSS, HTML developers available to lend some hands on supporting some of our website for some of the new updates we have due to COVID-19, such as updating. We're working now to develop an online registration form so that we can better plan for these large distributions so we have enough food. And again, that's CSS and HTML developers. I can say that we're also working to develop and put in place a system for matching for the need in the community for home delivery and those who are willing to do home delivery. So that is a new work that we're undertaking now. And I know that we'll need some assistance from the tech community to make that match possible. I saw something similar to that in Louisiana after Katrina, where there was a website where the needs were coming in and the offers to help were also there and they were being matched. So any help that you all can provide, I really appreciate it. And I'll give you David Carrico. You can reach him at our food bank, 412-460-3663, and he's at extension 524. That's 524 at the main food bank phone number, David Carrico.
Okay.
So we already have people offering to help in the chat over here, which I think is just really exciting.
Right.
So
Is there anyone saying anything, Jonathan, that you want to?
Yeah, I mean, first off, James Julius here on our chat has offered to help with with developers. So we'll make sure that you guys get linked up and can hopefully get what you need as far as that goes. That's why we just love bringing these forums together to get the help where it's needed as far as that is. I mean, so speaking of tech, what's been going on in my mind is just the logistics behind what you guys have had to do and how you've had to scale so quickly. How are you able to, you know, in such a short time, make sure that you could just literally, I mean, like something like quadruple, if not more, the amount of food and resources to get it to these people right now?
You know, that's a great question. And, you know, we're not the tech industry. You know, the food bank is sometimes a large and clunky organization, but we've really proved that we can act more quickly. And we've worked, I can't say enough about our staff. They have been committed, creative, resilient, working tirelessly to come up with new and different ways to get food out to people. And really for the last 4 or 5 weeks, we have been working 7 days a week, 16 hours a day to make this happen. And we did pilot a small home delivery program with 412 Food Rescue. It was probably a month ago. It was a Sunday afternoon, and we brought people together, virtually together, to work on it. Within 5 days, we had tested a pilot in Allegheny County to 55 homes and in Beaver County to 120 homes. So that's what we can do. You know, we're still learning. We learn a lot from the tech community and are very interested in partnering with you to do even more. And I'll say we're looking now 12 to 18 months out. So even when the pandemic subsides here, we know the impact on the people we serve, our most vulnerable neighbors, will continue long after the virus is not spreading. And so some of these, such as the home delivery, we plan to implement ongoing. So this work won't stop once the pandemic ends.
And that's really important. And a couple of things that might surprise people about your organization. First, you are not just a Pittsburgh-centric organization. Talk about the greater region and who you serve and the many organizations that actually rely on you.
Yep, thank you for that great question, because we do have Pittsburgh in our name.
Right.
People always think that we're Pittsburgh or Allegheny County centric, and we actually serve 11 counties in southwestern Pennsylvania. We go up to Lawrence County, out to Somerset. We do have the Westmoreland County Food Bank, which is a sister food bank, one of 9 Feeding America food banks in the state of Pennsylvania. They have their own service area of Westmoreland County. We do work closely together. They're not in our 11 county service area, but we do collaborate with them. But when we look at our 11 county service area, we have almost 350,000 people in these 11 counties that are food insecure, which means they don't always know where their next meal is coming from. Of those, almost 100,000 are children, and about half of the people we serve are children and senior citizens. So again, the most vulnerable people in our communities. I can't say enough about our network members. Collectively, we have 500 network members. We have 350 that are direct members of ours that we get food to directly from our warehouse here in Duquesne. And then in 6 of the rural counties, we contract with a smaller food bank, and they have their own members. So altogether, there's 500. Most are food pantries that provide grocery items, but then there are also organizations that provide a prepared meal, like a soup kitchen, an after-school program, a senior center. And I can't say enough about all of the partners we have. We've really, in the last 3 years, have brand new partnerships. We have partnered with healthcare providers. We now have food pantries at West Penn Hospital, at AGH. We're talking with Western Psych, Jefferson Regional Hospital. So we're getting food there. We have actually a great partnership with City of Pittsburgh Police, that they have food boxes, because when they get calls about kids being left home alone, almost every time there's not enough food in the house. So we're looking for different and new partnerships in order to get food closer to where people are and when they need it.
So let's just talk about money for a second, then we'll go into the chat. I'll have Jonathan ask some of the questions in there. You're saying on your website, it says that $100 donation can help provide 500 meals. How is that possible?
Yeah, well, we're fortunate in that as a food bank that we get a number of food donations. So again, it's enough food for those meals. And because we are able to get fresh produce and other items donated, and we also have government commodities. So the biggest way the federal government supports food banks is actual food. And that could be frozen chicken, it could be cranberries, it could be frozen blueberries. We get a lot of food from the federal government. So when you put that all together, in addition to what we purchase, it's for every dollar donated, we're able to provide food for 5 meals.
Wow. Okay. So Jonathan, there are a bunch of questions or statements.
So many.
Can you just pull a couple up?
Absolutely. First off, I just want to say I'm just amazed at people stepping up to want to help you with the tech side of things. So I'm just can't wait to see how that kind of knits itself together. Actually, I think we want to bring Simon Curtis on to ask a question. She's got something really exciting to think about in terms of a lot of food that's being wasted that's perishable right now. So VK, can you spin up Simon for us?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, thanks so much for your important work that you're doing in the Pittsburgh Food Bank. Thank God we have organizations and people like you. I just have seen so many reports about all of the waste of like farmers throwing out, gallons and thousands of gallons of milk and eggs and et cetera. And is there a way to connect with those farmers? I know that, where, donations maybe could be given towards refrigerated trucks that could travel there and bring the food back, or I just was wondering what that process is. What are the logistics?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. And I'm very aware of what's going on with the food supply, not just here locally, but nationally. It's very disheartening as a food banker. I mean, that's the challenge of food banking, right? Is matching what's available and getting that to people in need. So I would say that in terms of that, in terms of the milk, and for a number of, for a while now, the dairy industry has really been suffering. So I'm happy to say that today Snyder's Dairy, here local dairy, has a refrigerated truck with half-gallon, 2% milk that's being distributed now to families in need. So we are doing what we can to partner with the dairy industry that's we know is really hurting. Also, I heard recently about a number of farms that are plowing under their fields, the produce they can't get out. Again, we're working both here locally and with Feeding America to get more produce. We're actually a member of a produce cooperative at the Port of Philadelphia, the largest produce port on the East Coast, to be able to acquire and distribute fresh produce. We're working with Dietz and Watson in Philadelphia, reached out last week about the lunch meat, and they have, it's not sliced up for families, but they have the large amounts of lunch meat and cheeses that they can't now sell to Giant Eagle or other grocery store delis. So they've reached out, and we're trying to direct those donations to our soup kitchens and Meals on Wheels and other programs. It is a real challenge when there's so much food, and we're doing everything we can to try to capture as much as we can.
We have another great question here, Audrey, from Kenny Chen that he's got some
let's hear it.
help and wants to know. So can we tee up Kenny?
There. First of all, thank you, Lisa, and to the team for your Herculean efforts throughout this. I've been working with some of our artificial intelligence community in Pittsburgh, and there's a team of AI for social good researchers at CMU who specialize in computational game theory, but basically, using data and understanding behavior around logistics, volunteer management, other kinds of things that have turned out to be really critical during this time, and they're eager to contribute their expertise and resources towards both helping in the short term with finding solutions for improving efficiency of volunteer management and communications, those kinds of things, but also doing long-term research and collaboration to support organizations here. Is that something that you would be interested in exploring? And would David perhaps be a good person to reach out to, or is there somebody else that I can connect them with?
Oh, Kenny, we're very much interested in that. This is terrific. We would love to connect with you. And I would say David and also our Chief Program Officer, Marnie Shilkin, we would love to connect on this.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks.
Thank you. So, Lisa, how are your staff doing? How are you doing as a leader through all of this? You've been through, a few catastrophes. How are you doing, and what could we do? People forget that it's also the people on the front lines that we want to make sure are okay, and how much we appreciate.
Well, thank you for that question. It's been a trying time. I'm very proud of the work we're doing, of our staff, and what we're able to accomplish. But we do it with a heavy heart, knowing that so many of our neighbors are without jobs and are facing an uncertain future. So it's been inspiring to work so closely with our staff and other partners to respond to this crisis, but it is hard. And I've had my moments as a leader. Had a great call with Claire Babineau-Fontenot, the CEO of Feeding America last week. She reached out, and we were able to share our hardest moment in the last month and share that as leaders, her executive team members, my executive team members, we've all hit the wall. We've all had our moments where we just had to step away. But it's been great to be able to talk about that with each other and share with each other what's so hard. But I would say overall, we're holding up amazingly well. I am worried about our staff in terms of how hard we're working. We are trying to pace ourselves allow people, because most of us are still working here in our facility in Duquesne. So really talking to my staff about pacing yourselves, taking some time off. I believe most people took yesterday off, which I'm really thankful for, but it hasn't been easy. I mean, there've been cheers, some late night wine drinking together, but we've had, the executive team talks 7 days a week, including Sunday nights, to get ready for the upcoming week. It hasn't been easy, but our staff's amazing.
And so how do we compare across the United States with your colleagues in terms of the amount of food that is needed?
I would say we're one of the larger food banks, but not as large. Obviously, we have food banks that serve New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, the San Diego Food Bank, other food banks. But we're all working, doing very similar types of distributions. I've seen some incredible pictures from San Antonio and San Diego in terms of the sheer number of cars that they're serving in their drive-up distributions. We're now in the early talks, but we hope to provide a distribution very soon at the Pittsburgh International Airport that I think is likely to be our largest so far. I am part of an affinity group of 12 of the larger food banks, and they've been a tremendous resource. We actually have our first Zoom call on Thursday to connect with each other.
Mm-hmm. And so what about, will there be another PPG food bank dissemination? Yes,
so we actually have our weekly one in Duquesne is here on Mondays, noon to 3. It's happening now. We have our first one in Butler County tomorrow at Alameda Park. And then we're planning on hosting another one at PPG Paints Arena on Friday, April 24th. And we did have to turn away several hundred cars. So we will plan to bring even more food than we did this past Friday.
And the one at the airport, when is that anticipated?
We hope to have that, unlikely to be this week, but we're looking at next week. Okay. And as soon as we have that, that'll be on our website, pittsburghfoodbank.org/COVID-19.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, I know your time is valuable. You have spent a great deal of time with us here. I do want to tell everyone that in addition to Lisa's background, she was also the last winner of the Athena International and representing Pittsburgh. And your work does not go unrecognized. But in times like these, we need to make sure that we're here supporting you. So a financial contribution of any amount is deeply appreciated. The collaboration with tech to help you with your CSS, HTML stuff. I think you heard from Chen in terms of some work on social good and artificial intelligence. We are here for you. We are your partner. So I hope you know that, and I hope you know that the people on this call really care.
I can feel the love. Thank you so much, Audrey, and everyone at the Pittsburgh Technology Council.
So to wrap up, and just stay with us for 1 minute, I just want to give a big shout out thanking Huntington Bank for believing in us and for the work and leadership of AT&T. I am looking forward to tomorrow. We actually have the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, Ajit Pai. He is joining us from Washington, D.C., who will be followed by Jay Brown, President and CEO of Crown Castle. We will be talking about the state of the nation's telecommunications infrastructure, as well as the FCC's new $200 million grant program to support telehealth services. So applications for that program just went live today. So we're looking forward to that discussion. We are planning to continue all week long having these Zooms, and note that this has been recorded. So if anyone wants to go back and hear Lisa again and reach out to her team, you can do so. Can't thank you enough, Lisa. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Jonathan Kirsting and the Pittsburgh Tech Council for making this happen. I'm very proud.
Thank you.